Huh. Right. I forgot I had that on. Hi. Okay. So, as you can tell, I'm extremely unprepared for this stream. This was supposed to be me trying out different things that I now no longer know how to turn off. Okay, we're leaving that for now because I physically cannot remove it or things gonna get weird. Hi everybody. Let's just say that I did not plan this correctly. And initially my idea was gonna be, hey, we'll just chat with chat for a little bit and then we'll go into the Storytime reading. I set up my settings wrong and now we're stuck permanently on this screen. So hey guys, how is everybody? Thanks for the 31st, wow, thanks for the 31 months Blade Runner. I really do appreciate it. Hello. Hi, Alex Wolf. Hi, Iron Lad. Oh boy. I suppose like one thing I could potentially do is just turn off Shoost altogether. And maybe that will be enough to save our asses. Let me try that just out of curiosity to see what happens. Just curiosity. If I close this... I'm a genius. Hey, okay, now we're back to normal. Now we're back to normal. But hey guys, welcome to another week. So, this is the first of a set of streams that I'm gonna try experimenting with. I can't guarantee that it's gonna be everyone's cup of tea. I can't guarantee that it's necessarily gonna do well, but it's something that I've been wanting to play around with and we're finally starting to roll with it. Today, we're gonna be retelling in a storytelling format, the Greek creation myth, the naming of Athens, and to top it off, the tale of Arachne, the Weaver. I personally have a really huge interest in mythology. If you ever dropped by in one of my mythology is horrible, everybody dies or is horribly assaulted or is transformed into a tree, then you know that I really like talking about this stuff. But hopefully this will let us try a few different things as well as try some different kinds of content. So we'll see how this goes. I myself have no idea how this is, if people will like this or not. And I'm just gonna pray and hope that it does well. Yeah. Hi, Inks Ghost. Alright, we're gonna call this the test stream, alright? This is basically gonna be I don't know what I'm doing. We're gonna muddle through it and then hopefully next time I will have learned from my mistakes and be a little better about it. Hopefully. Thanks, Ghost. Congrats on the 7-stream streak. How are you? The thing is, while we're doing the story time, there might be a period of reading during which I won't be able to respond to chat quite as quickly. I'm gonna have to feel that out and we're gonna have to see how that goes. It's either gonna be really, really fun or it's really gonna be really, really weird when I ignore you guys for like 10 minutes. I'm bored. Oh, well, hopefully with story time you'll be more amused. Because let me tell you right now, the way that the Greeks imagined the world being created, really fucky-wucky, really weird and strange, let me tell you right now. Alright, let me get this rolling. I'm excited for tomorrow. Ooh, what is tomorrow? What is happening to you tomorrow? Let's see if this just loads or if I need to like reload everything. I have a bad feeling that I'm going to need to reload everything. A file open? New season of Marvel Rivals. Wait, is the new season of Marvel Rivals already tomorrow? I thought we had more time than that. I thought I had more time to get that set up. I thought Gambit wasn't confirmed. I thought it was just like they're like saying that there's a good chance it might happen. Oh hey, look at that, it actually worked. I'll be damned. Now is that going to transfer over to Gambit and Rogue have been announced? I swear I thought I saw like something that said like it's a theory, it's not confirmed. But I could be wrong about that. Let's see. I heard Greek myths. We are doing Greek myths today, Star. It's gonna be called Love and War. It's an official thing. Oh boy. Wow, they're really enveloping it then, huh? They're really going over. There we go. They're gonna really jump into it. Did Marvel Rivals do a wedding invite to announce those two today? It's entirely possible. I am very much out of the loop, let me be clear. I'm extremely out of the loop. I have been extremely busy today working on my taxes and trying to ensure that I don't owe the American government $20,000 at the end of the year. Rogue and Gambit's best ship. I bet. Yeah. John, I move Friday. Ooh, where are you moving to? You going to a brand new world? Gonna straight out just exit this plane of existence and it's all its failings and go to a whole brand new planet. That's nice though, Angskos. I'm glad you have Marvel Rivals coming out for you tomorrow. I'll be honest, I probably will be way too busy to play it, so you're probably not going to see me online until like probably this weekend. Let's be real, probably this weekend. Years ago, I said I'd consider playing Marvel Rivals if they added Rogue. Well, Star, now is your time. Now, Star, you too can be in Marvel Rivals. You can join the rest of us with discovering the insanity and chaos that is yelling at your friends when they don't do well. Hey, congratulations, Star. Congratulations. Alright. As I said, this is basically a test stream to see how well this new format works, and we're going to move on from there. You have a zombie it up? Oh boy. Oh boy. I have been enjoying the new zombie mode. It's been very, very fun. Have you tried lemon and honey water? Like, just like as a drink? Yeah, that's what I usually drink if I need to talk for really long times. Unfortunately, all I have today is quote-unquote coffee. My delicious, dark, colorless, tasteless coffee. But yeah, Star, it's a free game. You can join right now, Star. Have you heard of the massively multiplayer game Marvel Rivals, where you and friends can go head to head against each other in teams of 6? In teams of 6. And in your teams of 6, you could fight each other and beat each other up and generally just be huge annoyances to each other. And you can be a little shark and swallow up your friends and then shoot them out the edge of the cliff so that they fall down into the deep pit below. I'm praying that whoever they got to play Gambit's VA will sound Cajun. I'm sure that they probably got somebody good, because I feel like Gambit's accent is one of the most iconic parts of him. If they fuck that up, oh, things are not going to be good. People are going to be very, very annoyed about that, I guarantee that. Oh my. Moo, who are you shooting your shot with? The cow next to you? You know what? Remind me tomorrow to download it, and I'll let John drag me into a game next week. Alright, everybody, what I need you to do is I need you to find Star's Discord. I need everybody to send her a DM tomorrow throughout various points of the day so that we all spam that single Discord account. We're going to find out her Twitch account. We're going to send DMs to that too. We're going to find her Twitter account. We're going to tag her in a post every single 10 minutes going, hey, Star, download Marvel Rivals. Generally, I need you all to be complete assholes. I need you all to be complete assholes. I need you to tag Star in everything. If somebody's making a comment on a random video, I need you to tag Star. If somebody's streaming, I need you to gift a gift sub to Star that says, Star, remember to download Marvel Rivals. And then in the Discord, we're all just going to keep spamming her. Hey, Star, don't forget to play Marvel Rivals. Be an asshole like Zeus? Do not be an asshole like Zeus. For the love of God, do not be an asshole like Zeus. Zeus, when Zeus is an asshole, people either die or get pregnant. And in some cases, the pregnancy is worse than the death. So do not be an asshole like Zeus. Do not. Yeah, actually, like by modern day standards, if you're an asshole like Zeus, you're definitely not making it out of jail. Okay, so as a warning, most of the general point redeems have been turned off, mostly because I don't want to be trying to help you all relax with a nice story time, and then there's this enormous clang as a hammer strikes my head, or like millions of tentacles are dumped on me. So we've turned those off for now. I think the only ones remaining are the VTube Studio toggles and maybe like the checking it and stuff like that. All right, let's see how this goes. These, I will say, some of you who are familiar with Greek mythology might have heard or be used to different versions. These are the versions that I'm most used to, and just understand that I kind of wrote all these. I spent a lot of time over the past 3-4 days writing these, so give everything a grain of salt. It might not all be accurate to Greek mythology. I might have added a tiny spin of flair on some of it. We'll see how it goes. Probably lurking really tired. Hey, that's no worries, Moo. That's fine, Moo. I appreciate you dropping by no matter what. Still love the rebuttal by Athena in Epic God Games. I still have not seen the God Games or anything outside of the regular Epic, outside the regular Epic songs. Hades and Ares are least problematic gods. Hades did kidnap a young girl and drag her underground to be his bride. But yeah, to be fair, that's like, I think that's like the only really bad thing that Hades has done. Ares is just Ares. Like, you expect the god of war to really like fighting. Not entirely unproblematic. Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's see how this goes. Oh, thank you, Paula. I appreciate it. Somebody remind me to get some background audio for you guys next time, and And like I said, a lot of this might change as we develop and change up the content. Let me take a drink of water. I mean, sorry, a drink of my coffee. Drink of hydrating, refreshing coffee. Where's my book? Can you tell I'm prepared for this? Can you tell that I've put a lot of time and effort into this? My book. My book. My bookity book. Ah! My bookity bookity book. My book. Look at that. It's a book. I'm book, yeah. I fed the book to Tundra. Hey, don't. I have fed a book to a dog before and it did not end well. A lot has been lost, a lot of different stories and versions. I don't want to get to know any of the gods. No, yeah, straight up. Like, it doesn't matter what version is translated. A lot of them are assholes. So, the way this is going to go is I will read the story. There might be certain points that I pause that we can kind of talk a little bit about stuff, or I might give my thoughts on it. And then we'll keep going and we'll see how this flows. All right? Welcome. Gather close and listen well. Tonight's story just flew off the screen. I kid you not. My computer just ejected the page I was reading. Again. Don't worry about it. Again. Welcome. Gather close and listen well. Tonight's story comes from Hesiod, the poet, a tale from ancient Greece of how the very world around us came to be. Perhaps there are grains of truth in this story, or perhaps it is but a spark for the imagination. So sit down, listen, and hear a tale from when gods and monsters walked the earth. In the beginning, there was only chaos, not clamor, not madness, but the primordial void, yawning and endless. From the midst of this infinite nothing was born the first beings in existence. Gaia, the grounded earth. Tartarus, the dark abyssal pit that lies below all. And Eros, the shining star of love and attraction. Chaos also birthed Erebus, the pitch-black darkness of the netherworld, and Nyx, the cold night itself. From Erebus's and Nyx's union came Aether, the light of the heavens, and Hemera, the daylight. But Nyx would also be the mother to a family of terrors and plagues to keep herself company. Moros of fate, Care of doom, Thanatos of death, Geras of old age, Eris of strife, and many, many more. But those are stories for another time. Gaia, Lady Earth, gave birth to Uranus, the brilliant starry sky. They fell in love, Uranus enveloping Gaia in his embrace. Together, they gave rise to 3 sets of mighty offspring. The Cyclopes, the massive one-eyed giants, masters of weapons and forge making. The Hecontashirs, each a monstrosity with 100 hands, and the 12 powerful titans, the great rulers to be. However, Uranus was a cruel husband and a vicious father. He hurled the 100-handed and the one-eyes deep into the earth, imprisoning them within Gaia's own womb. Furious, Gaia turned on her husband, plotting with the Titans to tear him down from his own sky. She fashioned a harp, a great curved sickle of adamant stone, and implored the Titans to attack Uranus. But fear of their father cowered them all except for one. Bold Cronus, the youngest, the wily, and most terrible of Gaia's children. He alone took up the sword and conspired with his mother to lay a deadly trap. One night, as Uranus made to lay with Gaia, Cronus leaped out of hiding, slashing with his weapon, castrating his father, and throwing the severed genitals into the ocean. Some say Uranus died from the grievous wound to his body and pride. Others say that he merely retreated from the earth, disappearing beyond the sky and back into the void. What all can agree on is that in his final moments, Uranus cursed Cronus, declaring that Cronus's own children would rebel against his rule, just as Cronus had rebelled against his father. And so began the myth of succession, of son overthrowing father, again and again. It's at this point that I do want to point out, they really, really like it when the son overthrows the father. Happens in Oedipus, happens in Theseus. A lot of main heroes and gods are always overthrowing their fathers. The other thing is, according to this particular edition, Hesiod's version, if you noticed, Gaia essentially lays with her child Uranus to create the lineage of gods coming through there. I found multiple versions where some portray them as Uranus was given birth by chaos, some that Erebus and Nyx gave rise to Uranus, which would make them more cousins. The genealogy differs wildly depending on who's writing the story. Where Uranus's blood was spilled upon the earth, emerged the mighty giants, the willowy Malay, the nymphs of the ash tree who would become the progenitors of humankind, and the Furies, the chthonic goddesses of vengeance and death. From where Uranus's mutilated genitalia fell, the sea foamed and boiled, giving birth to Aphrodite, the eternal and vain goddess of beauty. Against Gaia's wishes, Cronus cut open her womb, freeing his siblings the Cyclopes and Hecontashirs, and then immediately betraying them, imprisoning them in dark Tartarus, setting the dragoness Camp to guard them. Cronus became the supreme ruler of the cosmos, head of the Titans, with his sister Rhea as his queen. She bore him 6 children: Hestia, Poseidon, Hera, Hades, Demeter, and mighty Zeus himself. But Cronus remembered his father's curse and knew that one of his children was fated to overthrow him and the Titans to become rulers of the universe. And so, as each child was born, Cronus immediately fell upon them, devouring them alive as they took their very first breath of fresh air. Rhea, stricken with grief and fearful for the lives of her children, sought the aid of her mother, Gaia. Gaia, still furious with Cronus for his imprisonment of his siblings, plotted with Rhea to save the life of her 6th child. When it was time for the 6th child to be born, Rhea snuck away, giving birth in a small cave watched over by Gaia. The newborn babe was whisked away to safety by Gaia, and Rhea wrapped a large stone in swaddling clothes and presented the bait to Cronus, who, unaware of her betrayal, swallowed the stone like he had his children. And thus Cronus was satisfied, certain in his belief that he had removed all danger to himself from the prophecy. The infant Zeus was raised by the nymphs of Adrastea and Ida, sustained by honey mixed with milk from the goat Amathea. His cradle was hung from a tree, so that he would not be in heaven, on earth, or in the sea, to deceive Cronus's gaze. The young god grew quickly into manhood, resolved to rescue his brethren from within his father's belly. He left his home to consult his future wife, the Oceanid Metis, who gave Zeus a potion indistinguishable from Cronus's favorite wine that was designed to force the great Titan to puke up the contents of his stomach. Disguised as Cronus's cupbearer, Zeus successfully slipped Metis's drink into Cronus's cup. The Titan began to puke, first throwing up the deceiving stone, then the other 5 gods, in the reverse order they had been swallowed. The other 5 godly children bowed, grateful for their rescue, and accepted Zeus as their leader. Cronus, running for his life, weakened and old, but not yet overcome, roused the other Titans, who feared the new gods and waged a 10-year-long war between the Titans and the Olympians, known as the Titanomachy. I might have butchered the pronunciation of that. The great Atlas led the Titans' armies, securing several victories and pushing Zeus and the gods to the brink of defeat. But then, acting on Gaia's advice, Zeus descended to Tartarus, slew the dragoness guard, and released the mighty Cyclopes, who as thanks forged the silent helm of invisibility for Hades, the deadly trident for Poseidon, and the signature thunderbolt for Zeus himself. Yet, even with these new armament and weapons provided by the Cyclopes for the gods, both sides still struggled for victory. The final battle is said to have been the work of the cunning Titan Prometheus, who betrayed his brethren and snuck away to join the gods. Zeus freed the Hecatoncheires and set up an ambush for the Titans, using a strategic retreat to lure the Titans into a trap. Armed with giant boulders, the 100-handed ones unleashed such a fury upon the entrapped Titans that the Titans thought the mountains themselves had rose up against them. Zeus and the other gods joined the final onslaught, and finally, the Titans defeated. The war was over. Cronus and the defeated Titans were hurled into Tartarus, and Atlas himself was punished to hold the universe upon his shoulders forever, bearing the new world up with his strength. However, Gaia, angered by Zeus's imprisonment of the Titans, united with Tartarus to give birth to Typhon, the father of monsters. There are many differing accounts of Zeus's and Typhon's clash, but the one that I like best comes from Apollodorus. Typhon, in all his terrifying might, as the father of monsters, attacks the heavens. The gods, scared and frightened, transform into animals and flee for their lives, leaving only Zeus to fight the monster, armed with his thunderbolt and sickle. After a mighty battle, Typhon retreats to Mount Chios, wounded, chased by Zeus seeking to finish the monster. There, Typhon and Zeus grapple in a fearsome fight, until Typhon wraps Zeus in his coils and rips out the sinews in his hands and feet, leaving the great god disabled. Zeus is trapped in a cave, left unable to move. However, Hermes, the swift messenger, and the satyr god Pan lure Typhon away with music, stealing back the sinew and refitting them to Zeus's body, giving the god back his strength. Typhon is pursued across the world, first tricked by the Moirai into eating ephemeral fruits that reduce his strength, narrowly escaping an onslaught of thrown mountains and earth from the gods, before finally succumbing when Zeus hurls Mount Etna itself, crushing Typhon beneath. It is here that Gaia finally made peace with Zeus, tired of her children being slain in her quest for vengeance. Zeus would go on to take wise Metis, the ocean who had aided him in rescuing his siblings, as his first wife. However, Gaia delivered a prophecy that Zeus, like Cronus before him and Uranus before Cronus, would be overthrown by Metis' son. Upon learning that Metis was pregnant, Zeus feared the unborn child and tricked Metis into allowing him to swallow her whole. There, Metis lived in Zeus's skull, giving counsel on ruling the gods and managing the mortal world. But Zeus had acted too late, for Metis soon gave birth to their daughter Athena. Making a home for them both inside Zeus's mind, Metis raised Athena, teaching her war, wisdom, and cunning, and forging her robes, armor, a shield, and spear as Athena grew to adulthood. Not long afterwards, while seated on his throne, Zeus began to experience a severe headache. In agonizing pain, Zeus commanded Hephaestus to take the double-headed Minoan axe and cleave his head open to relieve the pain. As the axe opened Zeus's skull, Athena leapt from the wound, fully grown and fully armored. Zeus viewed his newborn daughter with favor, and she took her place as the goddess of war, good counsel, prudent restraint, and practical insight. But now you might ask, what of the son, prophesied to overthrow Zeus? No son has sprung from the union of Metis and Zeus yet, so the myth of succession is frozen in time for now. But there are those who say that one fateful day, Athena's sibling will also spring forth from Zeus's brow and bring about the end of the age of gods. life end. Hi, Pursuer. And that's the myth of creation as well as the myth of succession. Like I said, they really enjoy having the son overthrow the father. Really enjoy it. It's a very, very common theme that I kept running into when I was looking up this particular story. Interesting points. So there's around, I think, 20 different iterations of Zeus's birth and childhood. And wonder upon wonder, Zeus just happens to be from a different area each time. They say he's born in the heart of Greece. They say he's born on this little island. They say he's born in Crete. And it just so happens that the author of each iteration just happens to be from that particular piece of land. So basically, every ancient Greek poet and author was trying to make Zeus their Mary Sue. They're all trying to be, yes, Zeus just happens to be from my hometown, at Athens. And then outside of that, other versions show... Ooh, that's so loud. It's, Isenia? Am I saying that right? Let me know if I'm saying that right. Welcome and thank you for the follow. Why is that so loud? How do I turn that off? As for Metis, so I don't know if this comes from the fact that most Greek myths are written from a very patriarchal view, but there's a lot of versions where Metis, Athena is actually the son of a cyclops, somewhere Metis is actually sleeps with a different god or a nymph, and instead of being Zeus's child, it's more like she becomes his child by proxy by being raised in his mind. So there's a lot of back and forth transformations depending on which author you choose to read. And I mean, with Greek mythology being as old as it is, it's inevitable that there's going to be a lot of different versions. Okay. Next, we have how Athens got its name. Let me see. How are we doing on time? Okay, we should be able to fit this one in before the ad break. Let us speak now of Athens, proud capital of Greece, home of heroes. In the age of the gods, human cities were often brought under the patronage of the divine. Gods would claim cities as their own, blessing the inhabitants with their favor and divine protection. In return, the people would build temples, offer sacrifices, and honor their divine guardians with prayers, poems, and songs. So the gods divided the various cities and lands amongst themselves. But one city in particular caught the eye of both Athena, goddess of wisdom, and Poseidon, lord of the sea. Cecropia, as the city was known, was blessed with rich earth and beautiful views, and it was no surprise that the two gods desired it greatly, refusing to yield to the other. To prevent further conflict, Zeus, king of the gods, intervened. Zeus declared that both gods would offer a gift to the city. The people of Cecropia would choose which gift they valued more, deciding the victor. And so, on the fateful day of the contest, both gods and mortals gathered on Acropolis Hill, everyone eager to see who would be victorious. As all gathered and watched with bated breath, Poseidon strode forward first, striking a mighty blow to the rocky ground. Immediately, a roaring spring burst from the earth, sparkling in the light and connecting the rivers and lakes nearby. Yet, when the king stepped forward and drank from the spring, his joy turned to disappointment, for the water was salty, as bitter as the sea itself. It was the water of Poseidon's realm, powerful, but not fit for consumption. Then Athena gracefully stepped forward, planting a tiny seed on the Acropolis hill. Immediately, a small shoot sprung from the ground, stretching and twisting upwards, reveling in the sun. It was the very first olive tree, its branches already heavy with green fruit. Poseidon scoffed, declaring that the tree was but a mere plant, and that his gift would give the people of Cecropia trade and dominance over the sea. But Athena only smiled and noted that her olive tree would give the people peace and prosperity. From the olive tree, the people of Cecropia would have food to eat, oil to cook with and to light their homes, shade for the children to play in the hot summer, and firewood to warm them in the cold winter. The tree was itself a symbol of endurance and life. Zeus turned to the king of Cecropia and asked him to choose between the two gifts. The king gazed over his city, and wherever he turned, his eyes saw the mighty sea, just like Poseidon's spring. Then he turned and beheld the olive tree, its branches heavy with the promise of life, growth, and nourishment. He bowed before Athena, declaring her the winner, her gift worthy of the patronage of the city. And so Cecropia was renamed Athens, in honor of the goddess who had granted it a new way of life. The olive tree became sacred to Athens, its leaves a symbol of peace, and its fruit a blessing from the wise Athena. However, Poseidon, furious at the city's decision, cursed Athens to forever suffer from a scarcity of fresh water, for its rivers to be few and its wells dry. Yet despite the sea god's curse, the city thrived. Guided by Athena's wisdom, Athens became the heart of Greece, a city of warriors, poets, and kings, whose stories are still told today. And to this day, that original olive tree stands upon the Acropolis, a symbol of the ancient contest that decided the fate of the city. There's not as many different versions for this particular tale as others, but the one that I found interesting was, I think a lot of people felt it was very stupid of Poseidon to offer up a saltwater spring. So there are versions where instead Poseidon's gift to Athens as part of the contest is actually the first horse, which would then become a beast of labor, a beast of war, transportation. And I did use this version just because it seems to be the more popular one, but in honesty, I do think that version is a little bit better, portraying a more fair contest. It just seems because from everything I can figure out, Poseidon does have the power to summon fresh water. Yet, for for whatever reason, for this particular contest, he decides, oh yes, let's summon salt water, the thing that Greece is already kind of surrounded by. Let's just give them more of that, shall we? Wonderfully smart choice. uh, I did a very bare minimum amount of research, and from what I can find, apparently the whole Athens curse to suffer from scarcity of fresh water actually is a thing. Apparently, there's multiple droughts, multiple times in the city's history where they were left without a source of, without a reliable source of fresh water. So hey, maybe there's some truth to this. Maybe once long ago, they pissed off Poseidon. I don't know. Would you rather piss off the god of the ocean, or would you rather piss off the goddess of war? Which also, like, from what I can figure out, Ares is the god of war, but it's more like savage, like honorable combat, whereas Athena is geared more towards war that is meant to be tactical, thought out, large scale. Ares seems more about the heat of battle, one-on-ones, etc., etc. Yeah, that is the tale of how Athens got its name. And I do want to yap a little bit just for a while, just to make sure that we can get past the Twitch ads on the Twitch side of things, so that we don't have to be broken up in the middle of the story and people will have to miss anything. But the next myth is the myth of Arachne. And we'll see how that goes. It's interesting. I think the myth/parable of Arachne is the one that I ran into the most variations. It seems like each poet had a different version of it. Even modern day translations have a different version of it. Some are based on different aspects of Greek culture and what they considered honorable or not. Others seem to be more based around how Arachne's pride got in her way, or how Athena's more of a vengeful goddess. So it's very interesting to just examine and explore the different facets and how they all change depending on which author you decide to study. Oh god. I wonder if the mic can pick up my neck cracking. The Greek creation myths, as far as I can tell, Greek myths in general are pretty unique in that the gods are usually portrayed as very flawed versions of people, like the worst vices. Essentially almost like a tale of like, here's what happens to you when you get a little too much power, too much responsibility over the lives of others. Zeus is always portrayed as this hedonistic womanizer who, if you piss off, will literally just smite you into ashes with a thunderbolt. Hera is portrayed as, which I think is frankly a little unfair in some ways of how she's portrayed, because God, her husband's going around sleeping with everything that has two legs and boobs. Sometimes doesn't even need the boobs. Hera is always portrayed as the very shrewish wife, constantly angry at Zeus, but then taking out that anger on innocent people and other gods. probably I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, but probably the two that don't have such bad portrayals of them are Ares and Hades, which makes sense, right? Like, if you believe in the gods, you're not exactly going to write a story about how the god of death did this horrible thing, and God, he really should be punished for it. You're not really going to go out and write that, just in case that, when you get down to the gates of the underworld, the dead god shows up and says, "Hey, aren't you the guy who wrote that story where where I did something really, really stupid and seduced a nymph and then got in trouble over it?" And the same with the god of war, with the amount of war going on during ancient Greece. Don't really want to piss off the god who might just decide that, hey, maybe your home gets to be the target of a catapult this time around. Okay, we'll allow the 3 minutes for Twitch S to finish, and then we'll start on the Tale of Arachne. I'm starting to think that maybe I should have written out a few more stories for you all. I didn't expect to burn through this quickly. Could be fun to cover other myths. The reason I chose these three is just because they happen to be connected to each other in terms of themes, referencing each other, pulling from similar motifs. The Tale of Arachne is a very interesting one because it's one of the few that shows a flawed side of Athena, her anger, her jealousy, and it's very interesting because I think a lot of other mythology in Greece likes to show Athena as like this strong, silent, yet wise individual who's known for leading legendary heroes through their quests and providing aid and being like generally the good person in the story. This is one of the few that shows that she herself has her own little flaws, her anger and her need to be like the other gods, superior to humans. I will also say, before the stream started, I was running around like crazy, trying to get everything organized and being like, okay, gotta install this, gotta set up this screen. Definitely need to smooth this out in terms of process for the next time. I do also want to say thank you to Mukia and a few other friends of mine for helping me put this all together because, man, I had no idea what I was walking into. I had no plans. I just went, hey, I want to tell stories. And turns out there was a lot more setup than I should have taken care of instead of doing it the day of, i.e. today. I decided out of the blue that, yeah, I'm going to do all these cool, fancy things, and then didn't realize that, hey, there's a lot of setup involved in all that. Gotta be busy, gotta get your shit together. Alright, we're back. Let us speak now of Arachne the Weaver, the brave yet foolish mortal who dared to challenge the goddess of wisdom. In the age of gods, when deities descended from Olympus on high and walked amongst the mortal world, there lived a young woman named Lydia daughter of Idmon, the famous dyer who would come to invent Tyrian purple, favored by royalty. The weaver's name was Arachne. From dawn till dusk she worked. The soft whisper of her shuttle and the rhythmic beat of her loom filled the cottage she lived in. Threads danced beneath her fingers, weaving gorgeous images that were so lifelike they seemed to breathe. Trees swayed as though in a soft breeze. Waves rippled across her cloth, their peaks topped with white foam. Even the faces of men and women seemed to come alive, eyes glittering with intelligence and faces flush with spirit. People would come from faraway lands just to marvel at her craft. Surely, they said, Athena herself must have blessed her with such skill, for no mere mortal could weave with such beauty. But Arachne was young and proud, caught in the web of the flattery and praise of those around her. Athena? No, the goddess has taught me nothing. My hands alone wield the shuttle, and it is by my own skill that I create my art. If Athena were to weave right here beside me, then we could truly see who is the superior artist. Her father begged her to cease such words and be quiet, but it was too late. Her words spread throughout the lands, rising high even into the heavens, until they reached the ears of Athena herself, goddess of wisdom and crafts. Athena may be the most patient of the Olympians, but even she was incensed at this level of arrogance against the divine. So one day, Athena descended to the kingdom of Lydia, cloaked in the form of an elderly woman with gray hair, weary eyes, and a crooked back. She strode among the mortals at work, stopping at Arachne's stall to gaze and admire her weavings. "Young one," Athena said, "your weaving is marvelous, yet I see no tributes or thanks to the goddess of wisdom for granting mortals this gift. Surely you should show her the respect she deserves." But Arachne just smiled at the disguised goddess. "Save your breath, grandmother. If Athena thinks herself worthy of my respect and wishes to prove she is my better, let her." At these words, the old woman's eyes blazed with divine light, her form beginning to change. The dirty cloak fell away. The old woman straightened and stood tall, her gnarled staff transforming into a golden spear. There, in the middle of the plaza, stood Athena in all her glory, helm upon her brow, cold gray eyes staring down at the mortal. "Arachne of Lydia," the goddess said, her voice causing the very air to tremble with its power. "Your challenge has been heard. You demanded a contest, and you shall have one." The people who had come to watch Arachne fell back in terror, but Arachne stood her ground, facing the goddess. Side by side, they set their looms, and the contest began, with the citizens of Lydia gathering to witness the contest of art between mortal and divine. Athena wove, her threads shining like gold gossamer, the patterns she wove gleaming like stars in the night sky. Her weaving showed the Olympians in all their unearthly splendor. Zeus seated on his throne, the god of gods. Poseidon commanding the power of the sea, master of the ocean. Radiant Apollo, his lyre's music charming all. And Athena herself, winning the patronage of Athens in a contest of wit. Around the edges of Athena's weaving were depicted the fate of those mortals who dared stand against the gods, crushed, struck down, transformed from their original forms into monstrosities. Then Athena looked over. At the other loom, Arachne wove silently, her fingers dancing across the threads as if inspired by one of the muses themselves, the comb's teeth packing everything into place. And in her artistry, she dared to show the horrible truths the gods wished forgotten. Zeus chasing all manner of mortal women as Hera looked on with murderous hate. Poseidon desecrating holy ground. Apollo striking down innocent mortals. 21 acts depicted of godly shame. With a golden border of vines and plants showcasing Dionysus transforming into a bushel of grapes to be eaten by beautiful women. Yet the tapestry was also absolutely perfect in every way. Each thread had purpose and sang with color and life. Not even among the gods would there have been a piece of art that could be its equal. When it was done, Athena gazed upon it, and though her heart burned with rage, she herself could not find any flaw in Arachne's piece. Filled with wrath, Athena struck Arachne's tapestry and tore it asunder, the scraps flying to every corner of the room. She raised her wooden shuttle, striking Arachne 4 times across the temples. Overcome by fear and despair at the destruction of her work, Arachne tied a noose around her neck. But, in a moment of mercy, or perhaps vengeance, the goddess reached out a hand. "Live," said the goddess, "but you will be a reminder to all mortals of the consequences of pride. You and your descendants shall weave forever, as you desired." She touched Arachne's forehead, and the girl began to change, the noose melting and becoming part of her new form. Her hair fell from her scalp. Her slender fingers gathered to her sides as long, thin legs, covered in black carapace. Her abdomen swelled until it almost encompassed her entire body, and silken threads spilled from her form. Hanging from the thread, she began to weave her first web in a small corner of the room, the very first spider, doomed to weave eternally and to feast only on small vermin and insects. And so it was that Arachne learned the cost of pride, and the spiders that spin their webs to this day are her children, weaving the same patterns beneath the gaze of the silent, watchful goddess. thank you for listening. Arachne's tale, if you remember before we started, I said that it had a bunch of different versions. It's probably one of the tales with the most variations and the most translations. Something that I found interesting. So originally, the version that I was used to said that Arachne was gifted with like natural talent. She was already a wonderful weaver. She didn't need education. It was just part of her natural skill. And that she alone had this almost magical ability to weave the thinnest of threads that could form the most delicate of images. There is a version where Athena herself takes pity on Arachne's father, what's his name? Idmon. Idmon starts out as a regular fisherman with Athena weaving whatever she can to sell to supplement their income. And one day, Idmon, after praying to the gods, goes out to do some fishing. Athena takes pity on him and causes him to catch these small snails that are all he can seem to catch that day. So when he returns home with them and tries to experiment with them, he finds out that when crushed in salt water and certain chemicals, they form this deep purple that is far more saturated, far brighter than any other purple used in the current dyer's market. So he would combine that purple he had discovered. Whoa, wow, that really is a lot. You got to fix that. 20 Amine? Welcome in. Thank you for the follow. So Idmon would go and take the purple that had been extracted from these snails, and he would dye Arachne's weavings with it so that she could produce these brilliant royal purple clothing and images that would catch the attention of everybody until it made its way to royalty, who would wear it to show off their wealth and status. And so it was that basically Idmon became the most requested dyer of Tyrian purple, and the only one who had the secret because he was the only one who knew that you could use these snails for that purpose. So then there's two different versions from that, where one version, Arachne, while using her father's purple, achieves her own recognition, achieves like this, because she's using the purple, it gets noticed by the people, and then the people start realizing that she's creating these wonderful, beautiful images, kind of like a secondary sale point in advertising. And then the two versions are, in one version, Arachne takes all credit for the attention. She says that it's her weavings, her skill that is getting people's attention, and then doesn't give any credit to her father for developing Tyrian purple. In another version, she and her father work together to basically create this weaving and trading dye business, and that's when she starts like getting flattered by different people, and that's when her pride starts to get the better of her, and she starts boasting about being better than Athena. Outside of that, the most versions agree that Athena saw Arachne's work and knew that it was better than hers. And I think one really important point that I think some modern interpretations get wrong is Athena doesn't destroy the weaving because she's angry that Arachne's work is better than hers. She destroys it because Arachne essentially mocks the gods for all these things they've done, which, yes, they've done them. They don't really want the mortals to remember that because then, it shows the gods have flaws, that they're not perfect. So by depicting all that on her tapestry, it was very much a case where I would say Arachne probably bit off more than she can chew. It's like you're going to insult the gods when you're competing against one, and you know that there is no way you can walk out of this alive if you piss her off. That being said, Athena is also the one that doesn't really dole out punishments as much, so it's entirely possible that, like, hey, Arachne thought that she was safe. Your voice sounds like a voice actress, does it? Aw, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Which one? I don't think my voice sounds recognizable, but hey, I could be wrong. The last point of interest is the part where Athena, after her weaving is ripped, puts a noose around her own neck. And in most interpretations that I found, they all seem to think that Arachne put the noose around her neck to basically because she was filled with fear and despair at having her work being destroyed. One interesting interpretation I found, and I couldn't really find any other examples of this, is that they say that by seeing her work being destroyed, Arachne is actually filled with rage. And the reason that she puts the noose around her neck is to spite Athena, and essentially like a declaration of, I'm better than you. I'm going to die better than you, and you're going to live the rest of your godly life knowing that I am better than you. It apparently is based on how the Greeks viewed, unaliving yourself essentially as almost like a challenge to the enemy rather than a way of escape. So it's kind of hard to. I like this interpretation because it doesn't make sense to me that just by seeing her artwork being destroyed, that Arachne would choose just to give up. But at the same time, I could only find one iteration of this translation that seemed to support this viewpoint. So it's a little bit weaker. And at this point, Arachne's tale's been reinvented and rewritten so many times that it's difficult to tell what exactly is the most accurate version. Well, now we come to a crossroads, because I did not expect for that to be so short. Initially in my head, I was like, oh, at the very least, telling these 3 stories will take up 2 hours. Yeah, 2 hours. It'll be more than enough time to allow us to easily do the usual 3 with a little bit of yabber, and we'll be fine. And now I am caught at a very, very short stream, already having finished all the content that I planned for it. So maybe we'll consider this a test and wrap it up here. I'm not sure. It's okay. Now I know I need to plan out for a little bit better next time. Thank you for coming to this test. I really do appreciate it. And I think we're just going to wrap it up here. I'm going to do a little bit of editing, figure out some things that we can change about this, and see how I can best use the story time to give us our usual streams. Definitely need to figure out a few more details. But thank you for coming by. I hope that you either enjoyed it or that you're currently falling asleep. Consider it a little bedtime stories for you all, who I know is pretty late for some of you. But thank you, everyone. I'll see you next time. I'm running away. Bye bye.